Jayadev Galla.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, I rise to support the bill moved by the Honourable Minister of Labour and Employment, which is languishing in this House for nearly 4 years. The primary objective of the bill is to regulate adolescents from working in certain types of employment and to permit children in family enterprises subject to certain conditions. There is no doubt that perceptions may differ. Some may say it's retrograde, and some may say that it leads to exploitation of child labor. But I feel that this bill is neither retrograde nor the bill promotes exploitation of children. This becomes very clear if one reads the proviso to Clause 5 of the bill, which clearly indicates that adolescents will not be permitted to work if there is any outsourcing of labor or any hazardous industry, and children will not be able to work until they reach the age of 4, except for in family enterprises. Sir, however, the provision must not serve as a loophole to allow for the exploitation of the child in the name of family-run enterprises. The line between a child helping out his or her family and being taken advantage as cheap labor is a very fine line, and one which is hard to monitor. Hence, I urge the government to proceed with caution in this particular arena and ensure that there's a mechanism to ensure that it's not being abused, sir. Just yesterday, we debated about the quality of education while discussing the Institutes of Technology. We talked about how schools have become coaching centers just to excel at entrance exams. Most children who are academically inclined and whose families can afford it don't have time for anything other than eat, sleep, and study. There's no time for work or play in most of the cases, sir. We also hire, in our company, we hire thousands of young men and women as engineers, technicians, accountants, workmen, and many other fields. For almost all of them, this is their first job, sir. Most of them lack communication skills, teamwork, discipline, and most importantly, they lack common sense, sir. Which reminds me of a saying, nothing common about common sense. The common sense is missing in most of the children growing up who do nothing other than work, other than study, sleep, and eat. This is more true of kids growing up in urban areas when compared to rural areas. Rural children grow up doing chores at home and on their farms and in the fields. I grew up in the USA working from the age of 10 years old. I delivered newspapers, I worked in a tennis club, and I also sold clothing in a men's clothing store while going to school and while attending college. I worked about 10 to 20 hours per week, sir. It gave me life skills that are useful to me even today, unlike most of what I learned in the school, sir. It taught me the dignity of labor. And the dignity of labor, I've spoken on other occasions in this House, there's a dearth of this in India, sir. Labor is a dirty word in India. Anyone who does labor is not respected, whether they're drivers or cooks or waiters or servants. They're not treated, and many times they're mistreated and abused as well. So people are not interested in doing physical labor, sir, whether it's construction or manufacturing. As adults even, forget about children. Even adults are not interested in doing the physical labor. We have major programs of this government that have been initiated, like Skill India and Make in India. But as long as we don't have the workforce, the skilled workforce to do this labor, these are not going to be successful, sir. So instilling dignity of labor in every citizen is very important, sir. As a nation, by exposing young people to this type of work, empathy will grow, and they will realize that they've been in those shoes before, and they will treat people with respect, sir. Sir, we should encourage part-time work and should take every step to instill dignity of labor in children. This kind of arrangement is there in Western countries where governments allow children to work part-time. But I suggest for the consideration of the Honourable Minister that it should be based on minimum performance in school. If an adolescent attains a minimum performance at school, he or she could be given a work permit by the school concerned. The performance includes academic and attendance, and it should be maintained by the school concerned. And if the performance drops, the work permit should be revoked by the school, sir. Secondly, we can also provide a ceiling of maximum number of hours. It may be 2 hours a day or maximum of 10 hours per week. And the payment should also be done on hourly basis, sir. I request Dattatreya Garu to please consider this and work along with the HRD ministry to frame how the schools can also monitor whether the children are performing well and attending properly before allowing them to work, sir. I think that would help monitor this whole program much better than leaving it to families to decide for themselves. An apprehension has been raised that family enterprise is nothing but an exit route to allow children to work in outsourced jobs like beedi making, agarbatti making, carpet weaving, handloom and powerloom industry, or automobile workshops, mines, domestic work, etc. But, sir, this is again not true because a new section is introduced in place of Section 3 of the Parent Act, which clearly bars children from above and other hazardous occupations. If we say that this cannot be enforced, then even the present law is not being enforced, sir. So I think this is an improvement over the current state of affairs. Here, I wish to agree with the Standing Committee that the states which are implementing agencies to keep check on children working in homes and see whether they are helping their parents or working to supplement the family income. Also, I strongly feel that the Labour Ministry should also have a monitoring mechanism at the central level to keep an eye on family enterprises which are involved in the business of bricks, brick kilns, slaughterhouses, mica, diamond cutting, matchbox production, and such type of occupations. This monitoring agency should work with the agencies in the states to ensure that this provision is not misused. I'm saying this because Article 32 of the United Nations, Rights of Children, which India had ratified in 1992, mandates that all children have the right to be protected from economic exploitation and from performing any work that is likely to be hazardous or to interfere with the child's education, or to be harmful to the child's health or physical, mental, spiritual, moral, or social development. So we should be strict in implementing this provision. I'm almost done, sir. The next point is that the bill is in total harmony with the International Labour Organization's Convention 182, which requires countries to prohibit employment of children in the worst forms of child labour. And the bill adds a new category of persons calling adolescents. Children who are between the age of 14 and 18 are categorized as adolescents and are prohibited from hazardous processes such as mines, inflammable substances, or explosives and hazard processes. This is also a welcome move of the government. Finally, the penal provisions, to my mind, are too weak. For example, penalty for employing a child was increased with imprisonment to a maximum of 6 months to a maximum of 2 years and a fine between 20,000 to 50,000. In the same way, if anyone employs an adolescent in hazardous occupations, the imprisonment is between 6 months and 2 years, and the fine is between 20,000 and 50,000. I only request the Honourable Minister to please double these provisions, sir, because it's not enough of a disincentive, and I think that would help a lot. In conclusion, I would like to refer to Chanakya's Arthashastra, sir, which says there's nothing more detrimental to the authority of a government than to pass laws that it cannot enforce. And the earlier law that this is replacing is not been enforced, sir. So I would urge the government to please ensure with these changes that we also bring in enforcement to ensure that it's not abused and children are being treated with dignity. Thank you, sir.